When was the last time you saw a team require 30, 40 more runs to win and the required run rate was less than 2? When was the last time you saw a team chase 150 plus in a T20 game and they chased it down in 10 overs? This wasn't a T20 game. How India beat New Zealand in Guwahati was literally a T10 game, highlighting the big gulf between the two teams at the moment. If this performance by India, and I'm not just talking about the Guwahati T20I, but the performance in this series does not send shivers down the spine of the rest of the teams ahead of the T20 World Cup, then I don't know what will. India have clearly sent out a message to the rest of the cricketing world that they are a notch above everyone else. I know Australia might pose tougher challenges than New Zealand. Maybe South Africa might pose tougher challenge to India compared to New Zealand. But even those two teams, I don't think are matching up to the performance that this Indian team is doing at the moment. You know, my mind goes back to that 2021 T20 World Cup. India got 150 odd and Pakistan chased it down with all 10 wickets in hand. And see, 150 odd New Zealand have got and India chase it down in a mere 10 overs. Two images that really stand out which illustrate the dominance that India had in this particular game for me. One image was that of the two Kiwi commentators, Simon O'Doul and Ian Smith, were there in commentary, and when Abhishek and Ishan-Kishan were going hammer and tongs, they showed the white handkerchief, the white flag, so to say, from the New Zealand side, saying that the way India is batting, you have no other option but to wave the white flag, which also is a sign for surrender. And I think this is the way that Indian team has been playing for the year and a half. But when you see it up close, like the two Kiwi commentators saw, they realize what you are talking about or what the world is talking about when they are saying that this India 2.0 is probably the best T20I team ever assembled. That image will stay in my mind. And the second image is that of Abhishek Sharma when he's walking off after the game is done, not out for 60 odd. The Kiwi players are actually checking his bat to see that whether it is real or not. Reminds me of that urban legend that used to go around in Indian cricketing circles when Ricky Ponting played that knock in the 2003 final, that legend, which is of course false, that he had springs in his bat. So, pretty much like that, because I think it's very tough for anyone to imagine that batting can happen the way that this Indian team is batting at the moment. And I mean, you think of it from New Zealand's point of view, first game India get 240, almost 240. Next game New Zealand get 208. And India still chase it down in 16 overs. So I don't know what New Zealand must have been thinking when they got 155. I'm sure, there would have been a thought in the dressing room, seeing India's performance in the first two T20Is. Let's just go shake hands, because to get this Indian team all out below 150 or restrain them for below 155 in 20 overs is impossible. Might happen once in 1,000 times, but more often not, will never happen. The two performers for India, we'll talk about Abhishek, getting his 15, 14 balls. I love that comment by his mentor in Yuvraj Singh. You remember he holds the record for the fastest 15 in 12 deliveries, saying you still couldn't get it in 12. But of course, if there is any player who can do it in 12 balls and match that record of Yuvraj, I think Abhishek is. He might do it sooner rather than later, and that's how destructive he has been. Good to see him back in form, because remember he went through a bit of a slump after that performance in Asia Cup, and Abhishek firing for India is much needed ahead of the T20 World Cup, and he's doing that very well. The other player, Suryakumar Yadav, imagine what that one knock did to him, the second T20I. After that, the third T20I also gets a 50. And this is something that I'd been saying for a long time. Suryakumar Yadav is one knock away from getting back into form, because we had seen that form about less than 12 months ago in the IPL, where he had a record of most consecutive 50. So he wasn't really far away from runs. It just wasn't coming together. Now to back-to-back matches, the only area that India hadn't fixed in their batting, that was the form of their captain in Suryakumar Yadav. That's also sorted. So top notch there as well. the one man who will be probably put under the magnifying lens after his 3 failures in this series, Sanju Samson. And I know with Ishan-Kishan batting the way that he is, people have already started saying, get Ishan to continue playing even when Tilak comes back. I'd though advise a bit of caution. I'm of the opinion that Sanju has had to wait for a chance. He never gets a consistent run. I think he deserves that. You gave that to Shubman Gill as well. You gave him a few series before you took a call of not having him in the T20 team. So I'd say there are 2 ways of looking at it. Sanju needs that long rope, absolutely. But also India need to put their best team for the T20 World Cup, and I'm well aware of that. So if you ask me, I'll still give Sanju these 2 matches. Hope for him to fire. If he does, then I will have him as my opener as I planned, and Ishan waits, and Ishan comes into the team as soon as there is a vacancy. And remember, Ishan doesn't has to come in as a replacement for a wicketkeeper. He can come in for a batter, just as he's doing for Tilak right now. So I'd tell Ishan that. But if Sanju doesn't fire in the remaining 2 games and Ishan continues to have his good run, then come the World Cup, I'd be tempted to start with Ishan, because I want to start with my best team. So that's my verdict on Sanju Samson and the debate between Ishan-Kishan. As for Indian bowlers, they were top notch, taking nothing away from them. But I still maintain that this Kiwi team is playing an ancient form of T20I cricket, taking nothing away from Indian bowlers. Bishnoi bowled well. Jasprit Bumrah bowling well is always a good sign. I remember people saying, why is he rested? Well, now you have the answer. That's why he was rested. Also wasn't having a great time in white ball in the last few months. So good to see him back at his absolute best. And Ravi Bishnoi also, after a bit of hiatus, coming back into the Indian team with that performance. So good bowling performance all in all. But I'd have to say the biggest difference between these 2 teams still remains India's batting versus New Zealand's batting. New Zealand is batting in an outdated form of T20I cricket. India are setting the benchmark. Give us a like on the video if you're enjoying our content. Subscribe to Sports Today. Nikhilnaz signing off.